Okay, well, we'll get started here. Welcome to R Enterprises webinar on remanufactured ambulances as a great alternative to new ambulances. My name is Jay Roths, and I am the founder and owner of R Enterprises located in Greeneville, Tennessee. And I'm excited to be talking to you about ambulances today. People tell me I like to talk about ambulances. Our prayer is that you and your team would come away with a clear definition of what remanufactured means, have some idea of what the significant cost savings and significant lead time reductions are, and also what a practical path to acquire an ambulance would be. And so that's our goal for today. My background is that I've been involved with ambulances for about 50 years. My dad had a new ambulance manufacturing facility in a little town in northwest Iowa called Rock Rapids. The name of the company was KO Craft. And he was friends with the owner and founder of Road Rescue. They were located in St. Paul, Minnesota. And that was before the Rev Group started consolidating new ambulance manufacturers. And he was also partners with the family that later started the Lifeline. Some of you may be familiar with that brand. And I can remember being a little kid and him taking me to the Road Rescue factory in St. Paul and the Laverne Fire Apparatus factory in southern Minnesota. I was just enamored with the big trucks and the ambulances, and that really has stayed with me. And we also had a dealer who sold ambulances for us, who was part of and dealt in Miller Meteor ambulances. And so if you've seen some old movies, specifically if you've seen Ghostbusters, ambulances used to be a high-top Cadillac, and they were used for several purposes: limousines, hearses, and ambulances. Maybe the same unit for all of them. The slide there, the middle picture, is actually a Miller Meteor ambulance. The Ghostbusters Ecto 1 is actually a Miller Meteor. I think it's a 1959 model. At any rate, when I was 7 years old, my dad handed me a broom and I started cleaning up behind our manufacturing team. And then I eventually worked in all the various processes: fabrication, welding, painting, electrical, assembly, sales. Actually, the top left picture there is of me 30 years ago or so. I looked a little bit different, taking ambulances to the San Francisco ambulance service. We manufactured all types and ambulances, type 1s, 2, and 3. And those were an example of a couple of type 2s. Anyway, I learned a lot about ambulances, a lot about people, about business, and especially about my purpose. God's given purpose for me. And I was really blessed to have those experiences. And so I'm working now with this team at this time, and with our customers, to really pay forward all that was poured into me. And so our team, pictured there at the bottom, is located in Greeneville, Tennessee, and that's just a few of them. We're upwards of 30 people and growing. And our general manager, supervisors, and our leads have a combined manufacturing experience of over 100 years. And our team's focus is really to be recognized for great products everywhere we do business. And really the way we work to live into that is through our mission, which is to delight our customers. And that's not something we decide. I mean, nobody decides for you if you're delighted. And so we really try to pay attention to that and ask that question often. Our purpose is to reliably serve and protect people. And I think that's probably our shared purpose. All of us on this call and all folks engaged in the extended chain of fire service and ambulance service really are about trying to protect and serve people. Our values are around the golden rule. And so on a given day, we ask our folks, would you want this done to you? Would this serve you well? And to just remember, on your worst day, your common man or woman out there in the world whom you may never meet is counting on you to have done the right thing to make sure that their life is better for having been in contact with the work that you did in the ambulance that we remanufactured. And so the golden rule really are the ditches for how it is that we equip our team to make decisions. Our team does a good job of remanufacturing ambulances. Their efforts and results are worthy of being compared to new. And people often think of our remanufactured units as new, and we're only too glad to hear it. It's not surprising that remounting and remanufacturing is rising as a strategy. Prices across all aspects of the economy are going up, and certainly ambulances have seen that as well. Prices are up, lead times are up, and they went up dramatically during the COVID era. I'm sure everyone's aware of that. And reimbursement rates are at least a question, if not a problem or a major problem for ambulance services. And so saving money with a remounting and remanufacturing strategy is a good idea to counter those forces. But all remounts are not the same, which is why we recommend our remanufacturing process. And new units have long lead times, years in some cases, and come at a higher cost, sometimes $50 to $100,000 more per unit, depending upon format being uh, compared to. There are examples, and maybe you have your own experience of ambulance services that have been waiting for a date for an ambulance for over a year and still don't have an ambulance at the 2-year mark. So our process, the remanufacturing process, starts with a good quality module that meets our profile and has remaining useful life. We do a 100-point diagnostic, and really the reason we do that is to qualify the components on the unit that was provided. And so remanufacturing really is to take the uh, components that have been qualified, refurbish and remanufacture those, and then combine them with new components as they're needed. And certainly we reinforce the use of those on critical systems. Of course, there's a new chassis, there's new HVAC, new electrical systems, new inverters. And those last three we really think of as critical systems. And it's with rare exception that we will not replace those. The savings range from $50 to $100,000 per unit. The lead times range from 1 day to 6 months. And so when I say 1 day, what I mean by that is we'd work to have an ambulance, a finished ambulance, on the shelf in each format so that if one of our customers should have an emergency need or someone else might, the lead time could be very short, as just a few days. We also maintain a strategic supply of painted donor modules, and we try to have those in every format as well. And so they have really undergone the teardown process, paint prep, and painting has been done. And so that portion of the lead time has been reduced. And so when someone has a need and they select one of those, we just continue on with the remanufacturing process. And the lead time in those cases are typically 3 months. Sometimes the customer has a specific need that's mission critical, or it could be a neonatal unit, a ped unit, or a critical care unit. And if we don't already have that, and we often do, but if we don't already have that, we have a prospecting process that we can use to leverage all of our various sources for donor modules, and we typically can find them. And so in those cases, and also when it is that a customer just wants to remount and remanufacture one of their units, the lead time is typically 6 months. So if any of this sounds like we are against new ambulances or their manufacturers, we are not. My dad and I manufactured new ambulances years ago, and I may again. And the fact of the matter is that good manufacturers are working hard on cost and lead time reduction every day. Yet, despite their efforts, they remain high in both cases. Still, we respect and stand on the great engineering and manufacturing excellence of American ambulance manufacturers. They really make our reman process possible, and we're grateful and thankful for the prominent American ambulance manufacturers in our country. Still, the reality is that our reman process is less cost by a significant amount and less lead time also by a significant amount. Our reman process builds on and improves on the work done before us. Many of our customers have engaged our planning to reman their units 3, 4, and sometimes more cycles. The donor module is paid for only once, typically when it's purchased new, and those savings recur on every cycle, in addition to the straight up savings we offer over new. And with our planning, there is often no lead time. And so what I mean in this case is for the customers that engage our 10-year planning process, we really evaluate your fleet and usage patterns, and then we sync that up with our current and our long-term production schedules with your needs, so that when it is that you have a unit that needs to be rotated out, um, your new unit is ready for you by plan. Also, your production slot is protected, every year, year in and year out, or whatever the rhythm is. Well, sometimes circumstances change for customers, and so we work to be flexible towards that end as well. If the schedule needs to be pulled up, we work to do that. If it needs to push out, we also work that. And in some cases, they can offer their production slot to someone else who has a more dire need. So we've got an example of an evaluation like this upcoming here, the brainstorming and proposal. You'll see the visual coming up here. Just want to remind you at this point to remember to submit questions. We'll try to address all of those at the end, and those we don't get to, we'll follow on here after with the answers. Okay, so here's an example and evaluation of, this is only one slide from it. Um, but the Type 1 K35 in the center picture on the left-hand side, that was the current format in use. And it's a great ambulance if you absolutely need four-wheel drive. It's a great Type 1 ambulance. And as a new ambulance from various manufacturers, the prices range as new from $300,000 and up. And as a remanufactured unit from us, they're just under $250,000. I think 240,000. I'm sorry, 245,500 as a remanufactured unit from us. And we actually have two of these on the shelf presently if you need one. The Type 1 F450 pictured on the bottom on the left-hand side with specs on the right, that's what they were contemplating going to. And the reason was the current format was getting close on payload. It's just right up against its maximum gross vehicle weight rating in some bariatric and other cases. And the F450 on the bottom, what they were contemplating going to, had more gross vehicle weight rating. And so that chassis costed this more. So for those units new, they're $320,000 and up. And from us, $270,000. So still a $50,000 savings over new. And we have one of those on the shelf as well if you should have a need. And then finally, the Type 3 E450 pictured on the top with specs on the left, that was our proposal. And those as new units go for around $250,000 and up. And from us as a new remanufactured unit, they're just under $200,000 as a remanufactured unit from us. And if you should need one of those, we have two of those on the shelf presently. And really our conclusions from this analysis were that the Type 3 E450 pictured on the top left, it's 20 inches shorter in overall length, but it still has almost 200 cubic feet in additional or more exterior and interior storage. It also had a 10-inch shorter wheelbase, so maybe a bit more maneuverable than the alternative Type 1s. It represented $100,000 to $120,000 savings per unit compared to the alternative Type 1s. It has slightly lower service and operating costs and maintained a similar safety rating. It does not have original equipment four-wheel drive, but there are options to enhance the traction either through snow chains or if full-blown four-wheel drive is needed, aftermarket four-wheel drive is available for this unit, and while still maintaining significant savings. So this customer had a 10-unit contemplated purchase at $100,000 savings per unit. That represented over $1 million in savings. And so that wasn't just a one-off. If a long-term 10-year remanufacturing process were engaged here, that would be a recurring and permanent savings, really offering long-term structural cost changes and improvements. So if there were needs around recruiting and retention improvement, funding another ambulance to support the back line, or other funding needs, here was an opportunity for that to happen. This customer had a similar experience to many of our other customers where they'd been looking for a date for over a year and had not seen replenishment in new ambulances over 2 years. And at some point, they're faced with what so many others are faced with, decaying reliability, decaying uptime, and at some point, impact on public safety. This type of planning and service is available to all of the attendees today and at no cost. And so all you need to do is reach out and we'll be glad to make those resources available to you. Next up, we'll briefly discuss the details related to what remanufactured means to us. And so there's a slide here that shows on the left-hand side a contrast between a remount and a remanufactured unit. So on the left half of the page there, you see a red column that shows a remount. And you literally can take an old ambulance, take the old box, lift it off the old chassis, take the old box and set it on the new chassis, reconnect all of the old systems, and you will have satisfied the most basic definition of a remount, and it's called a lift and set. We don't recommend doing that, and we don't because the critical systems, HVAC, electrical, and inverter systems, can cause chronic and recurring problems with reliability and uptime. It might be that you've experienced some of that. And so with rare exception, we really are non-negotiable around making sure that those systems are replaced. So on the right-hand side of the page, the right half is a list of what's all included in the remanufactured. And I'm going to read all of those to you, if you'll bear with me, because I want to impress upon you everything that's included in a remanufactured unit from us. So they include a new paint, new gaskets, new rotary latches, new paddle latches, new hardware, new aluminum diamond plate package and trim, new aluminum diamond plate bumper that includes the structure and a flip-up step, new aluminum diamond plate running boards, new stainless steel sill plates really to protect your lower horizontal surfaces for compartments and entries, new drip rails, new fenderettes, new rub rails, new mud flaps, a new fuel fill, new rear door grabs, new wheel and siren speakers, new wheel and exterior LEDs, a new backup camera, a new Zico bracket, which is universal, accommodating an M and H or even a larger cylinder, new gas struts, which act as your door hold opens, a new Vanner inverter and charger, which also includes the shoreline indicator, new battery tray and battery cables. Every ambulance that comes from R Enterprises includes at least 3 batteries and 4 batteries in the case of Type 1 for reserve power. A new hose line HVAC system with new hoses and fittings, new floor, a new floor rail, a new attendant seat, which is a combination adult-child, recovered cushions, a new front console and switch panel, a new RC-tronic electrical system motherboard, which is power ventilated, a new rear console and switch panel, new magnetic proximity switches for all the compartments. In the case of a Type 1, a new liquid spring system is part of standard equipment. And then we refurbish or replace with the plexiglass, the trim, the compartment liners, the panels, the door grabs, and the windows. And so that is just some of what's included in a remanufactured ambulance from us. We also have specifications that expand on this if more detailed is required, or if they're needed to satisfy a bid process. Next up here, we've got an example of a donor candidate and what it looked like when it came in. And when we take a donor in, we've got an intake process whereby we take pictures and do the necessary paperwork and diagnostic to create the work order to ensure that there's a good outcome. And so the top left-hand picture, you see an example of what this thing looked like when it came in. And it really highlights the fact that we also do collision repair. So there are cases where the chassis and the module have both been damaged. And if our diagnostic indicates that they can be repaired to original condition and have good remaining useful life, we'll do that. And they'll run the unit, restore it to service until its next remount and remanufacturing iteration. This customer has a multi-generational approach for remounting and remanufacturing their fleet. They only pay for the module once, and each iteration offers the straight-up savings over the new, and as well as the credit for the customer-supplied module, every iteration. 4 iterations are possible for modules and sometimes striker equipment as well. And that's really a subject for another discussion. But as everyone well knows, striker equipment is very expensive. And so there's a process to qualify that equipment. In some cases, remanufacture it and use it for 2 or more iterations as well, which offers more savings. So the key upgrades indicated on the next slide, new chassis, new paint and trim, new latching systems, new electrical system, new lighting systems, new HVAC systems, and a new inverter. And for all of those systems and all of that value, a savings is maintained of $50,000 to $100,000. And the lead times range from 0 days to 6 months. So that really concludes briefly what I wanted to share with you in the way of background and what we do. And shortly here, we'll take some questions. But before we do, I just want to say that if you want to stay connected, if you have an interest in staying connected, we have an email campaign that we send out once a month. And in that campaign, it shows you all of the units we have on the shelf, units that are coming up in production and available production slots for the near 4 quarters. There's other offerings in that campaign each month as well. We also have a bulk mail postcard we send out once a quarter, and that's just sent by snail mail, and it also makes offerings available. Also, we have social media in the way of LinkedIn and Facebook, and so more frequent updates and solutions from us are available there, and as well as our website resources. So we likely have your contact information, but if you haven't already provided, please give us your email address, your cell phone number, social media contacts, and we'll be glad to make those resources available to you. And then finally, I would just say, if you want to inquire about a unit that's on the shelf, remanufacturing your unit, or just discuss a planning process, whether it be 10 years or more near term. Again, we've got your contact information, just reach out and we'll be glad to set something up with you. Or if you don't, please provide it to us and we will. So thank you. And we'll take some questions now.
Hey, Jay, I've got a question that came in. The attendee would like to know, do you offer financing?
Yes, we do. So if you go to our website, there's a link to one of our finance solutions, and we have others beyond that. And I think it's an important question because it's oftentimes overlooked. there are some creative options out there, notwithstanding the fact that there's some interest to pay. But in some cases, depending upon underwriting, we have customers that have been able to defer their payment on an annual basis for up to a year. And sometimes that helps to bridge a capital process, even though there's some interest involved. And so I certainly encourage people to look at that. We've been trying to include that in our quoting process going forward because I think sometimes it's an opportunity that's overlooked.
I got another question here, Jay. Do you offer parts or repair services?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned that we do collision repair, and so yes to collision repair, and we have an eBay store for parts. So on our website and the email campaign and the bulk mail postcard, there's a link to our eBay store, and so that has a variety of used and new parts. It certainly is not a complete list, and so if anybody has a unique need, I would encourage them to call, even if they don't see it on the eBay store, because we have lots of inventory available, and it might be that we have it. And we don't care if it's for our ambulance or not. If it can be helpful to getting a unit back in service, we'd like to try to do that.
Okay, Jay, I've got one other question here. I'd like to know, do you buy ambulances and or offer liquidation services?
Yeah, we do both things. And so many of the units that are in our email campaign, as a matter of fact, some of them that are on the shelf right now, were purchased from end users, some of our customers, as part of their replenishment cycle. And then, of course, we have other sources as well. And so if somebody has an interest in selling an old ambulance, we ask for some basic pictures, 3 or 4 pictures of the outside and of the inside. We've got a basic profile that we're after. And if it meets that profile, we'll give them an offer.
Great. I've got one last question here for you, Jay. Do you provide paint or graphics?
Yes, we do both. We've got a full set of those services. Sometimes the customer may have their own designs already done, and it just makes sense for us to try to leverage that. If they already have that, we can convert it. But if they don't, we can regenerate it ourselves. And so we can do all manner of graphics, whether it's paint, reflective, just straight up vinyl. And we provide a proof process there whereby you can see how it would look on the unit and approve that before we engage the process.
Thanks, Jay. Those are all the questions that we have for now.
Okay, well, very good. Thanks to all of you for your time. Look forward to speaking with as many of you as we can in the future. And best of luck to you all.